You are listening to Brayford Radio. This recording was originally broadcast on the 24th of November 2016. For copyright reasons, it's always been edited to remove any music being played during the show. We hope you enjoy the recording of Formula Tom, with me Tom Cairns, Harry Parker and Jack Fisher. Good evening and welcome to Formula Tom on Brayford Radio. Joining me this evening is Jack Fisher and Harry Parker, who will be with me to preview this weekend's season finale and championship showdown in Abu Dhabi this weekend, and also talking about the latest drive confirmations for next year, and it's also the season finale in the GP2 and GP3 series. Martin Bullock would have been with us tonight, but with him being unwell and nobody else being able to replace him, we're just down to just the three of us for this evening. But nevertheless, the show must go on, shouldn't it, guys? Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be involved in the show, you can via Twitter, send in your tweets at Brave Radio. Alternatively, sending us Facebook posts or comments via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brave Radio, and we'll share them during the hour. Okay. Well, guys, it's the round 21, the final race of Formula 1's longest season. What season it's been?
It has been a pretty amazing season. It has ups and downs for a season long. It has been a joy to watch.
Yeah, I'd second that. Obviously, I didn't know how 21 was going to work because it seems to be getting more and more, but it's working. It worked really well, and room for a good race, even if it's already pretty much done.
Ironically, it's our 21st live broadcast, so it's quite fitting to have this show for the week and itself. But we know the situation between Hamilton and Rosberg going into the final race. Hamilton needs some very much strong luck, and I think Red Bull is going to have to be his best friend on Sunday. What do you think, Harry?
I think the only way that he could really do it is if he manages to back the Red Bulls. Back Rosberg into the Red Bulls. It's the only way I can see it happening. But he's come out and said he won't do that today, so I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
It's definitely Rosberg's to lose right now. It will take monumental luck on Hamilton's part for him to win this.
And we saw in 2014 in the what's called Abu Double, if you want to say that, where Rosberg encountered gearbox problems in the race that time. Could we see something like that happening to Rosberg? Because it is possible.
It is very possible, and arguably Hamilton's had the worst reliability this year, so he could be due it. But I don't see it happening. His car just hasn't seemed like it's had that many gremlins in it at all this year. So
yeah, I don't see it happening. His car's been too reliable all year. It'll be off. It would just be a sad ending to the season if it ended on a retirement.
It'd be a hollow victory.
Yeah.
What do you think the Ferraris can do though? I mean, they've had a very much underachieved season, a Ferrari. Can they cause a stir in the race?
Well, they may as well go all or nothing. Go as aggressive as they possibly can. They can't really lose anything out at this point.
And they don't care about the championship situation between the Mercedes, so whatever they do, they just do it.
Yeah, they can just do whatever they like.
Yeah, because I remember back in 2010 when Fernando Alonso went into the final race as the championship leader, as the championship favourite, he got stuck behind Vitaly Petrov, the Renault Vitaly Petrov in the Renault, and he couldn't get past him, and Renault didn't care. Did they?
Well, they wouldn't have, and a similar thing would happen, I imagine, if Vettel manages to get in front, or Kimi Raikkonen.
Maybe through pits.
Through pits, potentially. And looking at Vettel, he's got an extra soft tyre. Maybe he could do that to his advantage, just stay out on the softs for a very long time and just keep them behind him.
Yeah, I don't think they'll specifically get involved, but if they're running a strategy that harms Hamilton or Rosberg, then they're not going to change their strategy just because of the championship.
They will want to win this. They will want to throw everything they possibly can at this
to avoid going through a second winless season in 3 years.
And to also avoid what's been an awful season for them, because we all thought they were going to do a lot better this season. Obviously, not won.
Their pre-season was
very
promising.
Very strong.
Yeah, it was promising.
And they just want to shut the door on the season, be able to forget it and say, look, we did win. It's not that bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ferrari just are ultra aggressive this weekend. Both on the field and off.
Whilst Ferrari have been down, I mean, it's been a very, very strong season for Force India. I mean, going back to 2008 when they made their debut, pointless season that campaign, finishing 10th that time. in comparison to this year, finishing 4th with their highest ever points tally.
Very, very impressed with Force India.
Yeah.
I've always had a little sweet spot for them. I've always liked their cars and their designs, and so I'm very happy to see it. Obviously, they've made the Mercedes engine work, where they've obviously outscored Williams. So, and we all thought Williams, well, I thought this anyway, was the better second car, really, of Mercedes. So Force India to come out this season, drive that well. They had 2 brilliant drivers this year in Hulkenberg and Perez, and they've done exceptionally well for themselves.
And well, they've managed to achieve more podiums in one season than they ever had before. 2 podiums in fact this year, 1 in Monaco and 1 in Baku, in comparison to picking up 1 podium in 2009, 1 in 2014 and 1 in 2015. And every one of those, apart from 1, Sergio Perez managed to achieve. So he's very much...
He's a strong driver, and it's good that they've kept him for next season.
It's a shame it didn't work at McLaren for him, because he's a brilliant driver, Sergio Perez. And obviously I personally preferred Hulkenberg, but seeing the stats, I do have to concede Perez is an exceptional driver.
He is.
Yeah. Let's go have a look at the tyre allocations for this weekend for the final race of the season. I mean, Hamilton and Rosberg have gone for an identical allocation for this weekend. Hamilton, he's gone for the 7 ultra softs, the 2 super softs and the 4 softs. So the 3 dry compounds for this weekend are the yellow softs, the red super softs and the purple ultra softs. Okay, Rosberg's gone for the same. Ferrari have gone for a slightly conservative approach with Vettel, but Raikkonen's allocation is the same as the 2 Mercs. The most aggressive strategy on there, like you mentioned, Harry, is Hulkenberg with 8 ultra softs on there. I mean, with it being his last race for Force India, he will want to give it his all. I mean, if he ends up with a strong result, maybe like a 4th place or something, that could really help him.
It gave him the confidence going into a Renault team, which we have no idea what it's going to be like this season.
And looking further down, I mean, it's very much the same. I would say one of the most conservative, if not, I think the most conservative one on there is Kevin Magnussen for Renault. It'll be his last race for Renault before he moves to Haas next year. He's gone for 5 softs, 2 super softs and 6 ultra softs. Okay. Can tyres play a huge part in Abu Dhabi? Because it's not the most abrasive of race circuits, is the Yas Marina circuit.
No, it depends. It depends how hot it is at the night there, because obviously it's normally not too hot. But if it's like an exceptionally hot night, then the ultra softs are going to degrade very quickly, and we could see all sorts of different things happening. Like if that happens, Vettel's in the game with the extra softs that he has. So
yeah, I agree. Unless there's extreme hot weather, that I don't think tyres are going to play. I don't think they're going to play a major part.
It's not going to rain, is it? Really?
No. It never has done in any of the races in Abu Dhabi since its debut in 2009. Just quickly go through the championship standings. Nico Rosberg, as we already mentioned, it holds a 12-point lead over Lewis Hamilton going into the final race of the season. 3.67 playing 3.55. Daniel Ricciardo is third with 246, with Vettel in fourth with 197, Verstappen in fifth with 192. So. With Raikkonen in play as well, 178, but in realistic terms, it's very much between Vettel and Verstappen for fourth in the drivers, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. That one decent result for Verstappen, he's fourth, and vice versa for Vettel, and just that shows how well Ricciardo's done this season, how far away he is from those drivers.
How much the Red Bull car has improved over the course of the campaign. I mean, I didn't expect Red Bull. I mean, they finished fourth last year in the Constructors, so to go 2 positions better than last year, I think that's something.
To sometimes genuinely look like a challenger to Mercedes, which nobody really did last season. No, Ferrari obviously did okay last season, but
they have definitely challenged Mercedes.
They pushed them. It's been good to see.
Yeah. I mean, Ferrari achieved 16 podium finishes this year, last year that was, but this year I think only like something like 8 or 9. This year I think 6 for Vettel, 3 for Raikkonen. So they need to do better next year.
They were always third last year, though, pretty much
in nearly every race.
Yeah. So they've gone from finishing third every race to finishing fourth or fifth every race. It's just not good enough for Ferrari, who are meant to be the dominant force in the sport. But it's not good enough.
Quickly have a look further down. Perez is in 7th with 97, so he did well in Abu Dhabi last year, qualifying in 4th and finishing 5th. So if he ends up in triple figures by the end of this weekend, I think that sums up a good season.
It will be a positive season for Force India and Perez if he gets into triple figures.
Yeah. And Valtteri Bottas in 8th with 85, and Hülkenberg in 9th with 66. So if he's going to do it, if he's going to overtake Bottas, he needs to win the race. Does Hülkenberg?
Oh, I'd like to see that. That'd be a good race.
Yeah, I mean,
something's gone horrifically wrong if Hülkenberg is winning that race.
Yeah. Alonso in 10th in the highest McLaren with 53. Felipe Massa going into his final race of his Formula 1 career. He's currently 11th with 51 points. It's Sainz in 12th with 46. Grosjean in 13th with 46. Grosjean 13-29. Kvyat in 14th with 25. Jenson Button going also into his last race in Formula 1 in 15th with 21 points. Then it's Kevin Magnussen in 16th with 7. Nasser in 17th for Sauber with 2. Then it's Palmer, Verline, Van Dorn with 1. Leaving Gutierrez, Ericsson, Ocon, Haryanto yet to score a point this year. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes very much avoided clinch with 722. Red Bull 446. Ferrari in 3rd with 375. Force India an almost certain 4th with 163 ahead of Williams with 136 in 5th. Then it's McLaren in 6th place with 75, only 12 points ahead of Toro Rosso. Can we see Toro Rosso overtaking McLaren at the weekend?
No.
It's too big of a gap.
Too big.
Yeah, too big
I
of a gap.
don't think their power engine.
They need a double points. I think they need a double points finish.
They need a double points, and for McLaren to score none.
If it's going to come from anyone in that Toro Rosso team, it will be Sainz, though, who, again, you can see from his points, has had a very good season.
And Haas are down with 29, so they're on the verge of finishing 8th place in their maiden Formula 1 season, so it's a good achievement for Haas. Renault in 9th with 8 points, then it's Sauber with 2, and Manor in 11th with 1. So the battle's still alive, but Manor needs to get a 9th place finish at least to get 10th place in the Constructors, which we all think is a tall order. For you folks to share your thoughts from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix that is lined up for this weekend, do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send us posts or messages via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio, along with answering our first question of the evening. And the question is, how many times has the F1 Championship been decided in Abu Dhabi before? Okay, so how many times before has the F1 Championship been decided in Abu Dhabi? Okay, the answer will be given to you later on after Bohemian Like You by the Dandy Warhols. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Bohemian Like You by Danny Warhols. The question we asked before we left was how many times has the F1 Championship been decided in Abu Dhabi before? Guys, did you go for an answer for that?
Yeah, we both agreed on 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times? My mum said 1 and my dad said 2. Okay, I can tell you the answer is twice. So very well done to my dad there. The reason why is because 2010, where it was a 4-way battle for the championship that year, and the Abu Double in 2014.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So those were the times, and Abu Dhabi was the host for the championship decider for those 2 occasions. We've got some comments in. My mum's saying, after the announcement from Jenson Button that he'll retire from Formula 1 after Abu Dhabi, after how many races in F1 will he have started? And she knows the answer. She said 305, and how many more races has Michael Schumacher started?
I don't know.
About 100 more?
No, 1.
Damn it.
1. Yeah, but bearing in mind, 305 was the number of race starts for Jenson Button. The amount of races 308, because there was 3 races that he didn't actually start that he was supposed to. Monaco 2003, Indianapolis 2005, and Bahrain 2015. Yeah, so had he have started those races, he would have had more races than Schumacher.
That's unlucky.
That's getting.
Yeah, and Atsu Bleverett came in saying, question for Tom, how do you feel about Jenson Button having his last race this weekend? Do you think he will come back? Well, the answer to that is no, because BBC Sport came out this morning that he's retiring from Formula 1 after 17 years in the sport. And to be honest, I'm not at all surprised by it, because even if McLaren had offered Jenson Button a drive for 2018, I don't think he would take it, would you?
No, I personally see him going into endurance racing, like Le Mans or something like that now.
I think he will stay in motorsport, but I think he's done with F1. He may come back in a commentator team role.
I'd like to see him in that commentator
alongside
role.
David Coulthard.
Yeah,
how good would it be between Jenson Button and David Coulthard being pundits together and being in the commentary box.
That would just be
It would be brilliant.
Yeah. One from Alex Kennedy saying, what do you think to the possibility of Fernando Alonso driving for Porsche at Le Mans in the future?
I think it's very much a possibility. I mean, that tweet, it can't get more cryptic than that, really, can it? It's just showing he wants to do it in the future.
Yeah.
And do you really blame him? Because he's a brilliant driver and the McLaren isn't quite good enough at the moment.
His life has been motorsport, and I don't see, when he does eventually leave F1, I don't see him giving up motorsport. I see him going to Le Mans.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Fernando Alonso won't go to Le Mans until he's won another championship. That's what I would say, because he has this 100% commitment of becoming world champion again before he leaves the sport.
I'd like to see him in Mercedes.
I see he has it in him to win another championship.
To be perfectly honest, if McLaren Honda gets on the pace with Ferrari and Mercedes, I think that's going to be one of the biggest fairy tales in Formula 1 history next year.
It would be one hell of a matchup if McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull will obviously be there as well, because they're always going to be there because they're aero package.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an incredible four-way.
Mm-hmm.
It is just frustrating. Honda have it in them to make a good engine. It's just frustrating that they haven't found it yet.
To see where they've come from to where they are already.
They have improved a lot.
It's going to keep improving because obviously McLaren are the only Honda car. So they don't really need to worry about anything else.
I just hope McLaren stick with them. They don't drop them.
Mm-hmm.
They will.
Yeah, we have got more, but we'll save those for later. In the meantime, we'll talk about now about the latest confirmation of Marcus Ericsson being retained by Sauber for 2017. Marcus Ericsson will be going into his third year with the Sauber team, his fourth in Formula 1. His best finish so far to date has been 8th in the Australian Grand Prix in 2015, which was when he made his Sauber debut. He made his F1 debut with Caterham in 2014. Okay. But so far this year, no points for Ericsson, but still being retained by Sauber, but that must be down to sponsorship.
Yeah, I think that's purely down to sponsorship. He's okay, but there are better drivers out there.
Yeah, I don't think he's... I guess Sauber, I don't want to say they're giving up on next season.
Paul de Resta for me would have been better.
But I think that they're just trying to consolidate next season, try and get some points to get more funding, get some funding so they can move on. But because I don't think it's a skill choice. I think it is a sponsorship choice.
Considering the situation Sauber in at the moment, go on, Harry.
It's huge for them finishing finishing where they're doing the championship this year. Finishing second bottom is huge. Obviously, we all like Mano and everything, but for Sauber, it can't be anything bigger. Obviously, keeping Ericsson and having the extra money that finishing there gets them, hopefully they start to research.
Yeah.
I mean, Marcus Ericsson has yet to score a point since the Italian Grand Prix last year, finishing 9th. But this year has been mounted with problems as well. He had, crashed. He obviously crashed out in the last race in Brazil, but
5 retirements.
5 retirements, yeah. It's just one of the drivers that have the most retirements, really. But that's not the worst. I mean, I've seen far worse over the years. I mean, Jacques Villeneuve in his BAR debut year, he failed to finish in the first 11 races before achieving his first finish that year in the 12th race at Spa. But for me, I think Sauber did need experience. I felt they needed at least one of what they've already got in terms of Nasser or Ericsson. I mean, Gutierrez has obviously raced with them before. Would Gutierrez be a good fit in that Sauber seat alongside Ericsson?
I think Gutierrez obviously has had a horrible season this season with Hess, but he'll be a good driver for them. Just looking at the retirements for Ericsson, majority of them aren't his fault.
No.
He's had 2 technicals, 1 collision, which you can attribute to either him or the other driver.
Mm-hmm.
And the left rear vibrations probably wasn't his fault either.
No, it wasn't his fault as well.
And then obviously he's crashed up by aquaplaning, which was very, very treacherous Grand Prix.
It was. There were
something was going to happen.
There was drivers going off left, right and centre.
You could argue he is a very unlucky driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
but
maybe he deserves another chance.
Mm-hmm.
Are we being too harsh?
Considering, like, in terms of race results, I've actually been better than I would say that. So, I mean, he has got that 11th place in Mexico, which was his closest to achieving a championship point. But if Sauber do get on the pace this weekend a little bit, maybe get one of their cars into Q2, I think they could have like half a chance of getting a point in Abu Dhabi for Ericsson, perhaps.
They very much could, because there could be some very iffy things happening at the first corner between...
I mean, if Rosberg ends up in trouble...
I feel Rosberg might do a Senna Prost.
Yeah, we were
I just see it
talking
coming.
about this.
But to be honest, if he does decide to do that, I think the FIA, well, this stewards
Just make it not look deliberate.
Well, if he ends up doing that, he doesn't want to do what Schumacher did in '97, where when he attempted to take out Jacques Villeneuve in the last race at Jerez, before being disqualified from the championship altogether for that manoeuvre. I feel that going back to Marcus Ericsson, I think he can get a point, but it's going to be tough because I think all the other teams will be giving it their all because it's the last race of the season, and everyone wants to end on a high. So anything can happen. I mean, if Ericsson does get a point, I think that'll be a good finish for Sauber, considering from where they were at the start of the season, both on and off the circuit. In terms of looking at the comparison between him and Nasser this season, he's actually outqualified Nasser 12 out of 8 occasions this year, so 60% of the time he has outqualified Nasser. In terms of points, obviously Nasser's ahead of him on points, and in terms of race results, it's 12 out of 20 he's finished ahead of Nasser, so even though Nasser has got the highest position, Ericsson has finished ahead of Nasser on more occasions.
He has all. There has only been 3 times all season that he's other than retirements, obviously. There's only been 3 instances where he's finished like lower down the grid than where he qualified. So he is he's retired a lot, but take them out of the equation. He has been consistent in getting better results.
I'm gonna say that looking at these stats, I think I may have been a little bit harsh on him because I always thought Nasser was a good driver, but to see that he's obviously outqualified him, outplaced him, apart from the 9 points, the 9th, which Felipe Nasser got, we could be talking the other way around. We could have been saying that
just that in that one race, Nasser was better, even though he got the points.
Yeah.
So
if Ericsson was that,
like if Grosjean had no points and Gutierrez had no points, and like Grosjean's been getting the better race positions, even though he wasn't scoring points, and Gutierrez got that points finish in one race, we'd be thinking, Gutierrez is the highest driver in the standings, even though people wouldn't rate him as well as Grosjean.
Yeah.
And moving on, another driver confirmation that was confirmed last week on the eve. On the eve of the Brazilian Grand Prix, I should say, the Jolyon Palmer would be retained by Renault for next year. Going into his second year of Formula 1, his best result being 10th in Malaysia this year, and he will be partnering Nico Hülkenberg at the French team next year. Palmer's improved in recent races. At the start of the season, first race in Australia, I felt he put on a very, very spirited performance. But since then, up until the summer break, it's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, he wasn't at all. Looking at his retirements as well, you've got hydraulics, which probably wasn't his fault. Crashed, was his fault. Technical, not his fault. Gearbox, not his fault. And collision with Kvyat, I can't remember if that was...
It's difficult to tell, really.
Yeah, I can't remember if that's 50-50 or not. So I think he's been unlucky again, but obviously he will be number 2 to Nico Hülkenberg.
Yeah.
I think it's solid by Renault just to retain the same.
It's a bit biased, but it's good to see a British driver being kept. It is nice to see that...
And it's not just Lewis Hamilton,
we've got another one. They've put that's going to boost his confidence massively, and with someone like Hülkenberg next to him, he could learn a lot from Hülkenberg, and it could really grow him as a driver.
Yeah, I mean, on a good number of occasions, I think at least 6 times this year, Jolyon Palmer got himself into Q2, which in a car that has been uncompetitive throughout the whole year, he's done a superb job. He has done. I think he's done a good job in a car that hasn't favoured him as well as he would have liked. But I think with Hülkenberg coming in, I think that can really help with Palmer's confidence in the car.
It will show that to him, they brought in a big name driver, Hülkenberg, and that he's still there.
Yeah.
To him, that's got to be an ego. This.
It is. It's like they've gone with Hülkenberg because they see themselves pushing forward, and Palmer's going to be sat there thinking, they've kept me when they want to push forward. They obviously have confidence in me.
Even though if you're taking the quote, was it from Magnussen that somebody said everybody on the grid had an offer from Renault. Can't remember who that was.
I think Bottas had an offer from Renault.
Yeah, there was somebody said everybody on the grid had an offer from Renault. And
was it going to be a first come first serve? Would you say?
I'm not sure. I think they may have just gone back to Palmer, but I think it is a good decision by Renault because it keeps the person who's familiar with the car to help Hulkenberg bed in.
Yeah.
They just need to be quick on a single lap pace and also in the race as well, because Palmer's best grid position has been way back on his in the first race in Australia of 14th, but that was at the time when we had the 90-second elimination qualifying.
Oh, that was just wrong.
Yeah. Weird.
I know it wasn't the best procedure, but that's history now. We've got the
Thankfully.
Thankfully.
Oh no, 13th.
Yeah, 13th.
Oh yeah, 13th in Belgium. Yeah.
But then
I
didn't finish
spot
15th.
that. Yeah, he qualified 13th in Belgium, but ended up 15th in the race, unfortunately, on that occasion. So if you have any thoughts on anything that's happened in the F1 news lately, so any of the driver confirmations for next year, anything that's going to be happening in Abu Dhabi this weekend, or anything in the F1 paddock, do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send us Facebook messages or posts via the Facebook pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio, along with answering our second question of the evening. And the question is, where did Sauber score their first podium finish? Okay, where did Sauber score their first podium finish? Okay, the answer will be given to you after Madness's Our House. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Our House by Madness. The question we asked before we left was, where did Sauber score their first F1 podium finish? Any guesses?
Well, we both said Monaco at first, but then I decided I'd switch to Singapore.
Yeah, so Monaco or Singapore.
What year?
2013?
Yeah. Or 2012.
No, it's not. It's way back. It's way back further than that. It is the Italian Grand Prix in 1995.
Never got that.
No,
Oh gosh.
I mean, you two weren't born at that time, I don't think. But neither was I actually. I wasn't born. I wasn't born until December that year, so none of us were born at that time. But the reason why it's that is because Heinz Frentzen got Sauber's first podium finish with third place behind the Benetton of Johnny Herbert and the McLaren of Mika Hakkinen. So if you said Heinz Frentzen at the Italian Grand Prix in 1995, you are 100% correct. So very well done indeed. It's that time in the show, guys, where we need to discuss. Exactly. Well, going into this weekend, the final race of the season, I'm currently 157 points behind Mark's Mercedes GP. So if I'm going to do it, I need to do what Honey Badger GP did in Russia and get at least 200 points. I need to be one of the highest out of anybody in the world to overtake Mark's Mercedes GP.
It could be quite something.
It'd be quite something.
You've got quite a gap.
You're also going to have to go incredibly controversial.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go flat out on the predictions. If I can get all the predictions right, I've got half a chance. I've got half a chance to do it.
But you need him to drop some points.
I need him to do so badly. But the problem is, I think he's got the Mercedes. I've won a Mercedes. Unless he's got like Rosberg or Hamilton as one driver, not the Mercedes team. Because obviously the Mercedes is like higher in the budget.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's got on his pit wall currently. So, but I'm just begging. I get like 250 points, and he gets like no more than
like 50.
You need to put Verline to win the race or something like that.
Verline, yeah, but I don't have Verline in my team, so which is a bit of a shame. But
not gonna happen.
But it's not going to happen. But I'll tell you one thing that is big. I would say is between third and fourth, because Team Jedi and Delta F1 is 6 points between those two. So third place is still relatively up for grabs. Although bearing in mind, if I do bad, Team Jedi could.
They could snatch your second place.
Yeah, it could snatch my second place.
And you've got Team Martin who could snatch
fourth, perhaps, or fifth,
maybe even third if he pulls off.
So Team Martin, I would say he needs to put in some good predictions for the weekend. I mean, Honey Badger GP, I mean, he's out of the question for me, and so is Red Bull Dog GP.
Yeah.
But for Team Martin, he needs a really, really good haul of points. But the fact that I've only won 2 races this year, hopefully I can end the season on high and get a third win, so I can get second at least. But that's an outside shot of winning, I would say. But if I can close the gap, and the gap's like less than 100 points, I'll be happy with that, considering that Mark's Mercedes GP led the championship all the way since the first race of the season in Australia. So
pretty solid.
I don't want to congratulate him just yet, though.
No, you can't do it yet.
Can't wait yet. I'm not Jose Mourinho who handshakes the manager before full time. or anything like that.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice for Red Bull.
Yeah, I'm not going to handshake him before the final race of the season. But anyway, it's all or nothing for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want to win, but realistically, it's out of the question for me for that particular battle. Just quickly going to the Yas Marina circuit. It's a technical circuit, but it's quite a mixture. I think it's like a middle sort of. If I was to say, like in terms of downforce, it's like between low and high, like sort of in the middle range of that time. Because you've got this straight, like where the DRS zones are. You've got the DRS zone 1 and the DRS zone 2.
Very close together.
Yeah, and that is like the straight line speed, which is going to favour the Mercedes powered teams. Yeah, but also you've got this sort of low speed sort of technical section, which could favour the other teams like McLaren, like Red Bull, for example, or Ferrari maybe, or maybe McLaren. Because do you remember do you remember back in China where I think Jenson Button was the fastest man in the second sector of the Shanghai circuit in the race, but that's like the sort of slow part of the circuit.
Very good aero packet on that.
McLaren. Yeah. So perhaps if McLaren can maybe get a good result, especially for Jenson, who's leaving Formula 1 professionally as a driver after this weekend, then that would be very, very good for him. In terms of the race time on Sunday, it's 1 o'clock start in the UK, 5 o'clock start in Abu Dhabi, because it's a sunset race. I'm very much looking forward to another race. I mean, because my uncle has been to 2 of the races actually in Abu Dhabi, once in 2011 and once in 2013.
Very lucky man.
Yeah. I mean, if only he can invite me to next year, because he does work in Abu Dhabi, believe it or not. Maybe I'll maybe get him to invite you to as well if you're really that desperate.
A Formula Tom road trip.
Yeah, a Formula Tom road trip for all of us. But if we were all funded, okay, and got down to Abu Dhabi to watch the race, that would make my weekend so much.
I'd just spend the whole time in Ferrari World.
Live radio show straight from the race.
Yeah, but. I'm for this weekend's race. I think Mercedes. I can't see anybody other than Mercedes win.
Hamilton's going to win.
Yeah, I put Hamilton on my predictions to win. Rosberg to finish second.
Yeah.
And Verstappen to finish third and also get the fastest lap like he did in Brazil.
Yeah.
I've gone for Esteban Ocon to be the first driver to retire. 1 safety car.
Yeah.
I think I've gone for, and pole position. That's going to be Hamilton. So I think Hamilton get the pole and the race win. If you had your predictions, guys, what would they be?
Hamilton pole position and to win, Rosberg second, and third for me, just because I think they're going to be really good this weekend, I'm going to go with Hulkenberg.
I have to say,
or Perez.
I think
probably Perez.
Reliability is going to come into this race, so I think that's going to change my prediction just because of how I think Hamilton will get pole. And I really don't want to say it. I don't think either Mercedes will win.
You don't think?
I think Hamilton might get I think Hamilton might have some kind of mechanical failure, and it will kill my heart with Rosberg. Rosberg might finish 4th and Hamilton not even finish the race.
That's going to hurt Hamilton.
It will hurt.
If that's going to happen, both of them will retire.
That's very honestly. I think Red Bull's going to be up there in the top, and then maybe a Ferrari push. But I'm going to go controversial and say the Mercedes aren't going to get in the top 3.
Okay.
I think there's going to be mechanical failures just because.
But one Mercedes or both Mercedes?
I think Hamilton.
I think Hamilton will win the race.
Yeah.
I always said Rosberg, but having said that, if Rosberg encounters like a mechanical problems in the race like he did 2 years ago, that's going to very much blow the championship wide open.
I think it is a demanding race. It's a long. I think it's a long race on a quite a not tyre demanding circuit, but certainly engine demanding circuit.
This will show whether Rosberg has the metal.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, he'll lose. Because he just won't be able to keep up.
And it will be a shock.
We know Hamilton has the metal to do this.
Yeah, he has the pace.
We don't know if Rosberg does. I think he does.
If he holds the reliability, Hamilton's got the pace and the brain to win this. But it is Rosberg.
He's going to have to back him into the cars, which
honestly, yeah, I think he's going to have to back him into the
I know he said he's not going to, but he has to.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might
Unsportsmanship behaviour.
I don't want to say he's going to be unsportsmanship, but he might say he has some kind of mechanical failure, and then suddenly shoot off.
And whilst we've been showing our predictions for this weekend in Abu Dhabi, and brake failure, yeah, Lewis Hamilton's and Nico Rosberg's racing chair, brake failure. Yeah, as we've been showing our predictions for this weekend in Abu Dhabi, you can be involved in the show via Twitter, sending in your tweets at Brayford Radio, or you can go to Facebook and send us messages or posts via the pages of Formula Tom or Brayford Radio, along with answering our final question of the evening. And the question is, which former F1 driver appeared on last week's episode of the Grand Tour? Which former F1 driver appeared on last week's episode of the Grand Tour? The answer we're given after Muse's Supermassive Black Hole. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Supermassive Black Hole by Muse. The question we asked before we left was, which former F1 driver appeared on last week's episode of the Grand Tour? Guys, did you have any guesses?
D'Ambrosio.
Yeah. Okay. Jack?
The same answer.
My mum came in and said Nigel Mansell, and my brother James has come in saying Barry Kelly. The answer is Jerome D'Ambrosio, so very well done.
I remember because his name sounds like a custard.
Yeah. But the reason why he's saying that is because of his surname, because it's got D and then apostrophe, and then, which is quite unusual, let's say.
It is a very
it's
unique.
After the D, it sounds like a brand of custard.
It's a very unique surname.
I see. But yeah, if you said Jerome D'Ambrosio, very well done, indeed. We've got a post in from my mum, and it's saying it's something to do with the calendar actually, and just saying, how do you feel with Formula 1 going into 20 races? Because the German Grand Prix is set to be dropped from the calendar, or something like that.
I think it's a shame.
Yeah, we knew about the announcement with Malaysia earlier this week.
Germany has always been a place where we've got good drivers and we've always had good races, and it's just a shame that we've lost the track.
Where could we potentially see a new track replace it? Because obviously
Nürburgring. I mean, we don't know about Nürburgring because
we don't.
No.
Do we know? Are we having a European Grand Prix next year?
At Baku. We had one this year. We had one this year in Baku.
Are we going back to Baku?
We're going again to Baku this year. But Malaysia will be axed from the calendar after 2018.
Which is a shame as well.
It's a big shame because I've always enjoyed Malaysia as much as a lot of Formula 1 fans have. But they've come out and said they're just not earning enough. Like the ticket sales aren't high enough, and the viewership on TV isn't high enough for them to sustain. So it's interesting to think, if Malaysia's gone, who else might go? Singapore possibly.
Yeah, because you've got to think
Singapore. Yeah.
Countries who have drivers in, they're going to be safe because people are going to watch their own racer. But if you think of countries who don't have their own racer, they might not be able to earn enough.
In my opinion, I think it's becoming very much a competition between the circuits on the calendar, especially the Asian racers that are investing so much money, like both the sponsors for the event and, of course, the people that own the circuits, etc. Malaysia, if we think about Malaysia this year, out of 120,000 capacity, only 45,000 turn up, which is about 35%.
It's a shame.
That's not.
It's a big shame. But do you think it's because it was moved to the latter part of the season?
Either that, or Malaysia as a country isn't incredibly rich. And there are a few incredibly rich people, but it's not that.
They may have an issue with ticket prices. They may have their ticket prices too high.
Because you think about in the first few years when Malaysia first came onto the calendar, the only other Asian race was Japan.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as much of a competition.
Now there's China.
There's Bahrain. There's China. There's Abu Dhabi.
Singapore.
Abu Dhabi.
The only thing that might have saved it is if we had a Malaysian driver, which I don't know. I've not heard of any Malaysian drivers.
Well, we only have one Malaysian driver in Formula 1 history, and that's Alex Young, who drove for Minardi in 2001 and 2002. But other than that, no one. When we had the Lotus team in 2010 coming into F1 as Malaysia, it's like a Malaysian team. That's the only Malaysian team F1 has really had. And the Stewart team in the first year or two, they had Malaysia as part of their sponsors, just sort of promote and invest sort of the money towards.
I just don't think there's been I guess the investment from Malaysia has just fizzled up. it's just not there anymore. So people aren't encouraged to go watch.
I mean, we've still got 2 more years in Malaysia before it goes. Unless something comes in to change the situation, I don't know I just don't see it in the calendar anymore. As much as I'm reluctant to say, I mean, we've got other circuits like Imola, we've got other circuits like Buenos Aires in Argentina.
There could always be a French Grand Prix.
There could always be a French Grand Prix.
I'm still surprised we don't have one currently.
Yeah. We haven't had one in 8 years.
It really surprises me.
I reckon we could see one coming back.
Because of their heritage.
Maybe not as a French Grand Prix, but maybe when...
get a French team. Well, we've got Renault as the French team. We've got French drivers.
French drivers, French team now.
Maybe if when the Azerbaijan runs out their contract on the European, we might see the European move to France. It depends.
But if it's moved to France, it can still have the rights to host a French Grand Prix rather than the European.
I think there'll be an outright French Grand Prix sooner rather than later.
It'll be interesting to see. Because I know the new owners want to push for more races in a season.
We want to move on now to GP2 and GP3 because it's with Formula 1 hosting its final race of the season. It's also the final round of both the GP2 and GP3 series. In GP2, Antonio Giovinazzi, Pierre Gasly, and Raffaele Marciello are still in contention to battle it out for the Drivers' Championship that time. Who do you think will win out of the 3? I mean, realistically, it's Giovinazzi and Gasly, because the maximum number of points you can get in a round is 48. Because in the feature race, it's the same Formula 1 point system, but in GP2, it's the top 8, the 15, 12, 10. But I think it's between Giovinazzi and Gasly.
It is really interesting that the 1 and 2, they've both not scored in a lot of races. They haven't scored. Whereas third, he's scored in every race apart from one round. Whereas the top 2, they've not like Giovinazzi didn't score in the first 4 rounds. So
to come back from where he came.
Yeah.
But I remember watching the Azerbaijan races because Azerbaijan was the new circuit on the calendar. He completed. It's not often to see the driver winning both the feature and the sprint race in the same round. So because if you win the race in the feature race, you start 8th in the sprint race, and he won the sprint race from 8th place on the grid.
That's good.
Yeah, that's very good. So I think he's achieved what Nico Hülkenberg and Lewis Hamilton managed to achieve and win both the sprint and the feature race in a round. So we could perhaps see him in Formula 1 anytime soon. I think the chances are maybe next year. I think that's a tall order, but the year after possibly. But I think there's going to be a lot of competition for those seats in 2018.
I don't think anyone from GP2 or GP3 now will go up.
And bearing in mind Jordan King, who could be in contention for one of the Manor seats, he's currently in 5th with 122 points, so he could possibly overtake Sugo Sirotkin, who's featured in some practice sessions this year. And talking of Jordan King, he'll be taking part in the first free practice session in Abu Dhabi this Friday before he contends in both the GP2 feature and sprint races. So could perhaps see Jordan King in Formula 1. A 3rd British driver in Formula 1 next year.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice
fun.
Yeah, that'd be very nice fun indeed. And Alex Lynn in 9th, who also is the Williams test driver. The highest he could achieve, Ollie Rowling in fact is just ahead of him. The highest he can possibly achieve, with it being 48 points, is weirdly enough 4th. But in realistic terms, I'd say the highest he can achieve is 5th. For Alex Lynn, who I highly rate, who I thought did well last year, but I didn't think he's done as well as I thought he would this year. Moving away from GP2, go on to GP3. Charles Leclerc, who is the young development driver at the Haas team, he's done phenomenally well at the age he's done. He's virtually clinched the championship. He's 39 points ahead of Albon in 2nd. I'd very much see Charles Leclerc winning it, to be honest.
It looks it.
Yeah.
Because point system works in GP2 is the same in GP3, but I can't see Leclerc throwing it away.
No, if he gets a good first round, he's won it.
And the highest British driver in that in that series is Jake Dennis, who's currently in 4th and with 121 points. He can mathematically overtake Antonio Frucco in 3rd, but I think that's going to be too much of an ask for that time. So Jake Dennis, I think, is good enough for 4th. So if he gets a good result in Abu Dhabi, 4th place, not bad in GP3 in the GP3 series. And got some messages in from Nicky Hood saying, "Hi Tom, very important question for the final race. Where will you be watching, and what snacks and drinks will you have within easy reach so you don't have to move?" I really don't know actually. I think I might just have I don't know, might have like an energy drink alongside me or something, just to sort of keep me.
Might have a bit of popcorn, a bit of chocolate.
Well, if we all meet up on the Sunday, we can always share what we've got, can't we?
I might just have a 5-course meal there with me. So.
A 5-course meal with yourself.
Yeah, myself.
You've got to share that with everybody else, Harry. It's not all for yourself.
No, it's all mine.
No, it's not.
A 5-course meal. Chocolate.
5-course meal, super noodles, chocolate, more super noodles.
And Jason Hood has come in saying that, "Hi Tom, just got in from hockey training and listening to the show. Just reading about Nico Rosberg declaring he will go all out for a win when he only needs third place so even if Hamilton wins. Do you think this is a dangerous tactic?" Love the show.
No, I feel he should do it. Yeah. He's got to prove he had to come in. He couldn't have gone defensive, because if he goes defensive, he goes aggressively. Sure, it's more of a risk, but that Mercedes car, when you drive it to its max, he could have such a gap to third and fourth. It doesn't really matter. So.
Yeah, I mean, Rosberg, I think, well, he's got all to lose, and I think maybe he'll go for the same approach as what he's done in the last 3 races and just settle for second and not do anything silly. And don't do what Hamilton did in the final race in his rookie year in 2007 when he just threw it all away in the end.
Yeah, no.
I don't think he'll race stupidly, but I think he'll want to win the race just to make his championship win that much sweeter, to win the last race. To win it.
He's just been consistent throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
He's consistently done where Hamilton starts have been poor. He started well. Sure, he's not had as much reliability, but he's still done his job perfectly well, and he'd be a deserved champion.
Yeah. Before we go, guys, who's going to win the championship this weekend?
Rosberg.
Hamilton.
I'm going to go, well, even though I put my predictions on my Badger GP putting Rosberg to win the championship by finishing second, I've got a feeling Rosberg's going to encounter a mechanical problem in the race.
Yeah.
Nah, I feel Rosberg, he'll comfortably finish second. There'll be quite a bit of a gap between him and Lewis, but there'll also be a comfortable gap between him and the car in third.
Okay.
I just think whoever wins, would just like to see them both just put all their animosity under wraps.
They've seemed a lot nicer with each other since they crashed.
Just be friendly towards each other, because they were friends originally, and now it's just a shame that this has happened.
It's pressure, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what it does
exactly
to you.
That. And we're out of time, unfortunately, guys. Thank you for listening and sending your tweets and answers this evening. Do make sure you join in next week's shows where me, Martin Bulbert, Jack Murphy and Kathy Daniels will be reviewing the season finale in Abu Dhabi, okay? So from me, Harry and Jack Fisher, have a good weekend, and we will talk to you again, same time, next week. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio.